John Gruden, who I'm reliably informed is the head coach, or was the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm about as much of a Raiders fan as I am a fan of the Superman comic books. But John Gruden was the head coach, and he just resigned. He resigned under pressure. He had to resign because decade-old, or even more than a decade-old, emails, personal emails, were leaked. And in those emails, he sometimes said politically incorrect things, notably calling the commissioner at the NFL I'll clean up the language a little bit, a wuss, a clueless wuss, which every single person knows that he is. Even I know that. I don't follow football at all. And even I know that Roger Goodell is a clueless wuss, okay? And so this football coach puts that in his emails, private emails. They are leaked a decade or more later. Now he has to resign. And he said other things, and he made insensitive comments, and now he's got to resign. What this is, I think, is bigger than just cancel culture or saying that people should have their private emails protected. You know, I think the angle that most conservatives are focusing on with the John Gruden story is that liberal democracy requires there to be a distinction between the public and the private sphere. And then in the 1970s, the second-wave feminists came in and said the personal is political and all your private stuff is actually public now, and we're going to scrutinize all of it, and we're going to hold you to account for things you say at home or who does the dishes or what have you. There's an aspect of that, sure, but this goes a little bit further. And while people are focusing on this comment in one of the emails where he commented on a black player's large lips, and they're saying that he's basically, David Duke because he made some racially insensitive comment, I think the more telling comments are about sexuality and masculinity, where he calls Goodell a big wuss. What we're seeing here is a cultural revolution, one that is aimed specifically at anti-masculinity. And we're seeing this paired up with a technological revolution, which is namely the surveillance revolution. So to bring that back down to earth, what we're seeing is standards changing completely on sexuality. And so beyond your sexual desires or your sexual partners. It's even down to what a man is or what a woman is. It's even down to this idea now that masculinity is toxic. In the old standard, masculinity was good. The word virtue itself is related to the word for man, right? And so there was something good at John Wayne, Gary Cooper. I'm reminded of Tony Soprano, a line that would come. We've been talking about Tony Soprano recently because it was Columbus Day. And one of the lines from that show that keeps coming up is, whatever happened to men like Gary Cooper? Whatever happened to John Wayne? Whatever happened to the father knows best, the strong man? Now when we look at male figures in the culture, they're all a bunch of bumbling idiots, right? It's Homer Simpson or Ray Romano, and they can't do anything, and they're just a big joke, and their wife has to do everything and take care of them because these guys can barely put their pants on in the morning. So there's an attack on masculinity, and a lot of what's in these emails, these John Gruden emails, is locker room talk. I know it's an overused expression these days, and it's an expression that really hit the mainstream when Donald Trump was caught on a secret tape, also, let's not forget, on a hot mic, on a secret tape that had been held for years and years, saying that when you're a celebrity, women let you do whatever you want. You can grab them by the you-know-what. You can grab them by the Roger Goodell. and at the time, a bunch of pearl clutchers said, oh my gosh, Donald Trump is openly advocating for rape. First of all, he's not talking about sexual assault at all. He said they let you do it. So even within the context of his joke, he wasn't joking about that. But second of all, he wasn't being serious. He was joking around. He was having a little locker room talk, a little rough talk, which is the way that men sometimes speak. And when I say sometimes, I mean all men at some point have talked like this. And it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you're hateful. It doesn't mean that you're bigoted. It doesn't mean that if John Gruden is calling, Roger Goodell a clueless wuss, doesn't mean that he harbors a deep-seated hatred of homosexuals, or if he makes fun of some guy's lips. It doesn't mean he hates black people. It just means he's talking a little bit rough and a little offensively and a little aggressively, which is something that we used to expect from football players and football coaches. All right, these are people, football players who get involved in dogfighting rings. Remember that? These are people who get involved in really tough, they're disproportionately likely to commit crimes, can be arrested. I mean, there are actually some really bad crimes that football players have committed in recent years. Some of them have beaten their wives and girlfriends. Some of them have committed murder. But the one that we're all supposed to lose our collective sense over is because this guy used some harsh language in emails. Why do we even know about the harsh language? Because of the technological aspect, the surveillance state. Why do we know about Donald Trump's joke to Billy Bush on the Access Hollywood show? Because of the surveillance state. It's become more and more and more so. Anything you've ever said in your email, in your texts, in your private messages, and certainly anything you've ever tweeted, anything you've ever searched for, basically anything you've ever thought, anything you've ever said. You know how you talk and then all of a sudden you're getting ads on your cell phone for things that you were just talking about in a normal conversation to someone in real life? These things are all pairing up. And because the people who have control, because the ruling class are the ones pushing for this cultural revolution, the asymmetries of power here are very, very concerning. Because people who dissent from the political orthodoxy of the culture are increasingly going to have their private emails leaked and their private conversations leaked, and the worst things they've ever said and done are going to be broadcast and used to ruin their lives. And then people who go along with the leftist orthodoxy are going to have even the worst crimes that they can commit excused. I'm so glad you liked that clip. If you don't mind, leave me a comment, say you like the clip, that's very sweet of you, and subscribe and ring the bell, and head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. Type in The Michael Knowles Show, subscribe, leave a 5-star review. I'll see you next time.